in this past month or so, I've been talking to a number of traders and trading stocks and bonds and things of that sort, and futures and options and whatever else. And I started to see this kind of theme that came out in my discussions, which was, you know, it's important as a trader, not an investor, those are two different things, but as a trader, trading stocks on a daily basis or weekly or whatever, they go through a process of planning the trade. So they'll plan out what the backdrop is. In other words, are we in an uptrend? Are we in a downtrend? Where's the support and resistance? What patterns exist? You know, these things influence then when they're going to enter a trade. And then they set a stop loss associated with it and the targets as far as when they're going to get out of a trade if it goes against them, or even if it goes in the direction that they want, when they're just going to sell or buy back some of the stocks that they purchased in the trade. And as I talked to them, it made sense that each individual trade had a target. I'm out here because it gets below my support levels, and this is how much I plan that the stock will go up, and then when it hits that point, I'm out because maybe that's a resistance level that they're looking at. And when I started to question, I saw some kind of an analogy that, or a theme maybe would be a better word, about how they utilize targets. Yes, they'll set a target for a trade, but they don't set a target for the day or the week or the month or the year. And I said, well, but don't you, why do you do that? And this got me to kind of the psychology of setting targets, because these traders, some of them professional traders, would say what happens is if you have a target every day and you're behind on your target, you tend to make bad trades. You'll get under pressure. You'll take trades maybe that you wouldn't normally take. They don't fit the backdrop that you were looking for. And so maybe they trade more than they should, and they begin to make bad decisions. And I thought, geez, this is exactly what happens in businesses. Businesses have the same problem. Organizations have the same problem. And it's one of the truths that I've learned over the years, that organizations will set targets. We're going to get 30% more in revenue. And there's typically one of two things, but often both, things that are missing from setting a target. First of all, you can't, maybe your system that you're working in currently can't meet that target, right? Just saying, I'm going to get 30% and just go out and get 30% when your system isn't capable of getting 30% is a bad deal. And by virtue of setting this target, the second thing that's missing is they don't have a method to achieve it. They just talk in terms of setting it out there. And even if they do, even if they say they do, they don't look at their system in order to determine whether in its current condition, can it meet that target? In other words, do you have the data that you need? What is it operating between, as far as sales and costs and things of that sort, whatever the targets might be. And so they're usually very high level, and somebody just throws one out and might go to a salesperson. But executives get them too, right? I mean, as executives, that's one of the things you always expect. Oh, you got to hit this, 30% increase next year. Now, maybe next year would be a bad example, since I think we're going into a recession. But regardless, there's these targets that are set for executives, and they can't meet the target because their system isn't currently capable, and they haven't identified, or both haven't identified a method in order to achieve that particular target. And so then what happens is typically, as people, executives, anybody given a target, if they see they aren't achieving it, they may try, very hard in order to come up with something to try and achieve it. And then the blame begins, right? It was a bad year. We may get manipulation of numbers. I mean, I've seen that in multiple forms in multiple industries. They manipulate the numbers. Well, we'll just go ahead and ship. We got to hit our target for this month, so we're just going to go ahead and ship early what's supposed to go out next month. Things like that, in order to manipulate, hitting the targets. If you're in a contact center, it could be, well, I have a talk time. I've got to hit that target, and therefore maybe I cut off phone calls with customers because, talk time. I got to hit that target, and my supervisor's been writing me, for not hitting my talk time targets. And talk time is a derivative of the type of phone call you get, right? Some are more complicated and some are not as complicated. So, manipulation of the numbers, maybe doing bad things for customers in order to hit a target, bargaining to change the target. I see that a lot. Oh, there's no way we're going to get 30% this year. And then even I see when the pressure's really on, that cheating begins. Okay. So, and the cheating could be the thing like shipping early or cutting off phone calls or whatever. And targets almost always lead to these things. It's funny if it's maybe, then people say, well, the target was too low. If they're capable of meeting it, that's a whole nother probably episode. But the mistakes to achieve the target compound the losses that you're getting within your system by all this manipulation and blame and bargaining and cheating and everything that goes along with it. And so my approach has always been, what do I do instead? And I think that this gets to the heart of the matter. Well, one, you want to start with understanding what your current capabilities are of your entire system. And, you need to understand what the customer targets are, because those customer targets are the ones that are going to lead. It's almost like the trade itself. If I'm doing things right by the customer, I'm coming out with new products and services. When they call up, I'm able to, fix whatever their problem is and then go back and make sure that it doesn't happen again. Those are the things that you want to do first. And also, make sure that your aim, that you have the purpose of your organization is clear, and identifying the right measures associated with those customer targets. So that to me is step number one, understanding your system well enough to know what its capabilities are. So when somebody throws off a, 20% increase this year, and you see that you're operating here, you have to, the first thing that should be going through your mind is, by what method am I going to be able to achieve this target? And so that's really a component of everything else that I do in my advising, is you want to develop methods. So you want a method for innovation, to constantly be able to get things, new products, new services that add to revenue that people want. And you're going to have to experiment, and you're going to find out that some things just were the wrong thing. But the only way you're going to find out is not playing it safe. If you got a 30% increase you're supposed to get, you're going to feel the pressure right away. And that's why you need to bargain up front and say, here are the methods that I'm going to do. Innovation is one. What about the organizational design? Are you designed in such a way that it's as optimal as it can be from a customer in perspective? Is it an organizational design that can hit what the customer's expectation is going to be? Another thing is you got to improve your decision making. And one of the ways you do that, and I've got multiple episodes out there that you can search for on involving others in the decision making process, coming up with new ideas constantly. That helps with your innovation. It also helps with your decision making because you don't get a myopic view and say, well, here's our decision to make this, and we're going to make it work even if it doesn't work. And that is very frustrating for the whole entire organization. As executive, you got to watch that because you waited all these years to get in an executive position, and now you can make these important decisions, and people, attempt to live up to whatever it is that you're doing as subordinates to you, as opposed to being people that can help enable you to make better decision making by coming up with new ideas and being honest with you about ideas that don't work, to be able to rifle through those quickly. And so your constant mentality needs to be that we're going to improve the system, the methods of things that we're doing. And this is also includes selecting the right measures, and the right measures, that feed revenue and costs are if you're being able to provision quality services to customers, quality products to services. The more problems you have, the more issues there's going to be, and there's always going to be something that you're going to need to address. But it's how you go about fixing those particular issues. So anyway, that's what I wanted to cover this week. It was an interesting, thought process of how, from a psychology standpoint, having targets out there leading to bad trades is very similar to having targets out there where a system is not capable, and as you set the target that the current system is incapable of meeting, oftentimes it's just heavy lifting and screaming at people and doing all the things, the blame, the manipulation, the bargaining, the cheating, all those types of things eventually come into play. So that's what I wanted to cover this week, and remember, there is always a better way.